Welcome to the Burgh Cave, where you need two things. You need one of these, and I know a little something about this. Grab your brew, come on in and talk to the fellas. Let's go. What's going on, people? What's going on? Welcome to a Tuesday night here in the Burgh Cave. This is something we've promised for a few weeks now, but we actually got, as you can see by the banner, some Robert Morris football talk. I got two former teammates with me that played together. Got the damn balloons going on. I don't know what these gestures are with the StreamYard. It's nuts. But hey, we're going to have a great show talking about the memories from the first years, the first inaugural years of Robert Morris football, because you think about this, what chance not only do you have to play college football, but what chances do you have to play college football and start a program from scratch? There's some really interesting stories coming from the gentleman I'm going to bring on here in a minute. So grab a cold one or whatever you have with you, sit back, and we're going for about the next hour or so. We're going to talk some football. But before we do that, obviously want to pay respects to our sponsor here at the Burgh Cave, the Celebrations Bar, Banquet and Grill at 8110 at Steubenville Pike and Imperial. You see their number 724-695-4333. It is the great man cave away from my man cave local bar. 45-cent wings on Wednesday. I'll be there tomorrow. The outdoor deck is open, man. It's a great atmosphere. If you like the local bar attention where the bartenders know who you are, they crack some jokes on you, but give you great service. Celebrations Bar, Banquet and Grill. If you are in the Pittsburgh area, near the Robinson area, right down 2230 towards West Virginia, right off the Imperial exit there. Again, 724-695-4333. Celebrations Bar, Banquet and Grill. Go ahead and see Alex and Laura. Tell them the Burgh Cave sent you, and they'll take care of you. All right, so tonight what we want to do is I have Bozy, who you've seen on here a few times here the last couple episodes, and I'm also bringing back one of our great players at Robert Morris, a running back, Ralph Clark's coming on. So without further ado, I want to bring the gentleman on. So we'll bring Bozy and Ralph on. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing this evening?
What's up, man?
Hey,
doing well.
Good to be back.
Yes, sir, man. Long time no talk, Ralph. Thanks again for accepting the invitation to come on. Bozy, it's good seeing you again. I don't know if anybody's going to call you Big Ben tonight, man. You don't got the helmet
on.
on.
Wearing the fucking hat tonight. That ain't happening.
Hey, so, I want to start off here. I know, Bozy, you and I have shared our recruiting stories, how we got to Robert Morris. Maybe we'll give our Cliff Note version of this afterwards. But, Ralph, I'd like to start with you and to tell everybody, how you actually got to Robert Morris as far as, through your senior year recruiting, and were there any other suitors that you were considering other than Robert Morris?
Ending up at Robert Morris is a bit of a tale. I was actually recruited by a few schools, but a lot of schools actually. But I really think I had my heart set on Towson. I was recruited by Towson. They were successful. They had a running back. If you go back, they had a running back by the name of Tony Vincent. And when I was getting recruited, he was one of the top backs, in the country. And he ended up getting drafted by the Chargers, I believe, and playing in NFL. And, their whole recruiting thing was like, oh, you come in and this is the perfect offense for you, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And other caveat is that, everybody knows the story. If you're from the DMV, the name Bobby Beathard. He's the longtime GM for the Redskins and everything. So his son was on staff at Towson. His son was recruiting me. But if you guys also remember, our senior year of high school going into college was also the first year for the NCAA clearinghouse. Going, I'm a kid that I had, overall, I had like a 2.8 GPA, but there's this thing called a core GPA.
Yep.
And my core was not a 2.0, let's just say that. So, somewhere along the line, long story short, Towson had stopped recruiting me. That was kind of late in the recruiting process. But during the year, played across town a game at this high school called Madison High School.
Okay.
And if you remember, one of our quarterbacks was from Madison High School at Robert Morris. So they were actually recruiting him, and I just happened to have a really good game that game. And, they sent me a letter, and I kind of talked to my coach. I was like, what do you think about this program? It's brand new, man. I don't know. Yeah. I was like, they got this guy, Joe Walton, that's the head coach. He was the head coach of the Jets. Right?
Yeah.
And I never forget Coach Lewis. He was our defensive coordinator, actually. And he was like, man, I think you should give it a shot. He's like, if you want to play, he's like, anywhere else you go, you're probably going to sit a year or two. He's like, if you want to go ahead and, you probably get to play. So I came on a visit up to Robert Morris and cold Pittsburgh. And
yep.
Yeah.
I did not stay on campus. I remember, so guys that were on their visit the same time as I was, Wes Johnson, those guys were on the visit the same time. We kind of connected on that visit. They stayed on campus. I think my mother didn't let me, and we stayed at a hotel. The Holiday Inn. Actually, the Holiday Inn is still there, probably, right? The campus.
It's actually a campus building now, but yeah, it's
really?
buildings there, but it's been repurposed as dorms and stuff. Yeah.
Full disclosure, I've been there like 25 years. So I wouldn't have known that. So go ahead. Yeah.
It's a dorm. It's a dorm now. But
wow.
And on that recruiting visit, I don't know, you guys probably not huge hip hop fans, but I was, if you guys remember at all, I was heavy into hip hop music.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking through the lobby and they're coming out and I'm walking in and I see Buckshot. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Black Moon.
Black Moon, yep.
So huge. I'm a huge hip hop fan, and I'm like, yo, Buckshot. Like my mother's standing right there, and she's like, who? And I'm like, that's Buckshot. That's 5 foot short. I was like, that's Evil D. Like I'm like looking at him, and the campus didn't wow me or anything, but somehow I think I connected seeing a famous rap group, Pittsburgh being a pseudo city, and then having an opportunity to play for NFL guys, as my high school suggested. Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So that's kind of how I get there. But Andy Scruggs played at Madison High School across town.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah. And
they were, because Andy, he got hurt our senior year, but Andy was like one of the top rated quarterbacks in the state of Virginia.
Okay.
Because I graduated high school in Virginia, but he was one of the top rated quarterbacks. So they were there to see him. And let's just say I had a very, very good game that night. And that's how I ended up getting recruited. And
wow,
that kind of led me to Robert Morris, man. So
it's funny, you hear a lot of the stories how guys end up at certain schools through what I call like secondary film, right? They're watching somebody else, or you're watching, whether you're in person at a game, or if you're watching film on a guy and like, wait a minute, who's this guy? You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, you're actually being recruited by the school that you weren't necessarily being recruited by. So that's actually it's a cool story. So I want to give everybody a reminder, just a Cliff Notes version of mine, and Bozy, if you want to give a Cliff Notes as well. And I don't know if it rings any bell with Ralph as well. So I'll never forget. Mine was, I received the letter, and being a local kid, I took the visit just to get out of high school because I wanted to go take the visit, right? And I went over there and I walked into the office there at John Jay, which is now a nursing school. And I'm sitting there, and the first guy I run into is Radakovich, and he's got that Super Bowl IX ring on. And you want to talk about a high school kid getting immediately intimidated by that high school ring. And he went around the room talking about this because, hey, what are you here for? Okay, you're a receiver. He goes, so receiver. He goes, can receivers use their hands to block? And I froze. I was like, I told Buzz, I think I rethought my entire the position rules with the receiver, what you can do. And obviously, of course, they can use. How do you think they're going to fucking block? And he's just bad rad. So I had a good visit. Talked with Richardson, my receivers coach, I believe is the DB coach at Duquesne now. Talked with Walton for a little bit. And then the funny story was, I told him I was definitely interested because I was considering like Slippery Rock and other like D2 schools. And I said how interested I was. And then I came back and I am working out at my high school. And somebody comes in. he said, "Hey, do you know you made the Street and Smith magazine?" I was like, "The Street and what?" Like, I didn't know what that was at the time, and so I got it. Is this cover, which has Bobby Ingram and Joey Galloway on it? If you go down to page 69, I can't read. I'm getting too old. Is in page 69. Obviously, I can see it. There's the Robert Morse here, and I'm listed as one of their top recruits. Ralph, I don't know if you're in there or not, too.
I had no idea.
Yeah, actually, you're in this magazine too, Ralph. I'll do that. I'll text you a picture of the article. If you pick it up, if you find it out, the Street and Smith magazine with this on it, it's cool to know because again, you're in here as well. Oh, I'm one of their top recruits. I didn't know I was going there. So I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm going there. But I think it was because the business school at Robert Morris was, like you were saying, Ralph, playing for a NFL coach and being able to learn the game at another level, I think is what attracted me. So that's why I went. So, Bozy, what about you, man? Cliff Notes version from what you said before.
Yeah, pretty quickly. So I was actually pretty much going to UC, Cincinnati, on a full ride. And that kind of fell apart because the coach left for Harvard. And then Rick Minder came on board. Well, we all know I'm a pretty smart guy. I'm not Harvard mentality. We're not really there with me, right? You know, my GPA was not quite there. So I was kind of left in the cold. I'm like, well, so like Ralph said, I was getting recruited by a lot of, other schools. And there was some other schools, Carson Newman down in Tennessee. I liked them a lot, but they kind of cooled off, and I kind of verbally committed to UC, but then I know where to go now. So I'm sitting there one day, and I get a call on my phone, and I'm getting ready to leave for spring break to go down to Panama City with all my friends, right? My buddy pulls in the driveway, blaring his horn. Ironically, the same buddy that they were actually looking at in the film when I mentioned before. His name is John Moore. And he's blaring his horn. Come on, we're going to Florida. I'm like, all right. So the phone rings. I pick it up, and it's Joe Walton. He's like, this John Bozy. I'm like, well, which one do you want, my dad or me? Football player. I'm like, well, it's me. And, this is Joe Walton. And I'm a football fanatic when it comes to history and stuff. I knew Joe Walton's name right away. I remember watching him coach the Jets in 1986 with my uncle, watching them. I remember, I was like, wait, you the Jets coach? Because, yeah, I'm like, what are you calling me for? And he told me, he's like, we're looking at filming this guy, John Moore, and we saw you. I'm like, okay. And then I hear the horn blare again. I'm like, Coach, I got to get going. I'm going down to Florida for spring break. He's like, go, take my number, call me back. Came up for the visit. And I came up the same weekend Michael Moore was fighting and won the title, actually. I don't know if I mentioned that last time. The local Pittsburgh guy, I think, right? Michael Moore won the title that weekend. And Ralph, you're right. The campus was dead. It was like so quiet, but there was something that attracted me to it when I got to talk to Coach Walton. Harper is my local recruiter. I didn't meet Coach Shule yet. That was my defensive line coach when I became a freshman. I didn't meet Rad yet, but I heard all the stories, which we'll get into that. And it just attracted me. And I was like, this is kind of – I didn't have a lot of options. I had some other options going on, but I was like, there's nothing like this. And it sold me on right away. I was like, NFL coaches, I get to be a program that's going to start. I get a chance to play right away because there's not other guys here already. They're bringing JUCOs in. I get that, but there was nobody there. Yep. So that attracted me right away. I was hooked. Right away. I don't know what to say. And then it solidified me when I first came up there, when the whole team was up there before training camp, and I got to see him in the atmosphere. I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this a lot. That was fun. So yeah, that's a short version of me. So
yeah, it's awesome. I like to hear it because we probably shared some of these stories as freshmen. We were all talking like, how'd you get here and things like that. But I always forget. It's always cool just to hear the ways, the different avenues that we've all made it to, to little Robert Morris there in Moon Township. So Ralph, coming back to you with, we spoke about the complexities of the playbook. You talk about the quarterback off here that was there with you guys. I think you said our junior year, but left because of playbook. But talk about that shock between your high school playbook and then getting that Joe Walton playbook. Did you remember that first night of those night meetings? First off, that was whole night. We had these 2-a-day practices. Then we had these night meetings. And I don't know if you remember this. I remember I was sitting in the back. I believe I was talking with Jeff Cohen, one of their slot receivers. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there talking, and you just hear these massive thumps. And it's the guy going around dropping these big sumbitches on here. We're like, what is that? And like, this is our playbook. Man, talk about that during camp, that shock of this complicated playbook that Bubby Brister and some Steelers had trouble getting. And here we are as freshmen trying to figure this out, man. Talk about that initial reaction with the playbooks.
Well, first of all, I remember, no offense to Coach, rest in peace, but I remember the Steelers offense sucking when he was the OC, when Bobby Brister was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he last on there. Yeah.
And I remember the book being so thick, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, in my mind, I was like, holy.
It is crazy.
And then he's going through the meeting, and he's, the first night, it was just like, I mean, I took notes religiously, like I probably never took notes in a class. I just remember it being like a foreign language to me, and being like, I got to study. And that was like that was my thing, is like, I got to study, like almost like I was in class, like, holy crap, having that feeling like if I don't study, I'm going to fail.
Yep.
And I didn't want to fail. Right. And I wanted to play. So I just remember thinking, like, this stuff is going to look complex, so I got to spend a lot of time in it. But I got to be honest though, man, like, I didn't, and dude, you were in the room with it, so you can, like, I'm not bullshitting. For some reason, I didn't struggle with it. Like, I picked it up. I picked it up really easy. But I can say that's only because you can probably attest to this too. Guys that were playing video games, and everybody used to go to everybody's dorm room at night playing video games and talking. That first year, I did not leave my room at night. I stayed in my room and I studied the playbook. Mm-hmm. And I always knew what was going on, and I just made up my mind nobody was going to outwork me. Like, so diving for balls, like stuff like catching the ball, because I mean, honestly, once Tim got there, the only thing I had was I can catch anything.
You were really good. Yeah, you definitely had some good hands. Yeah,
Tim was Tim.
Yeah, but the playbook was just the playbook for a lot of guys was complicated. I think I was able to realize that it's all in families. But I remember, Tim, if you look at film, you'll see probably like every snap, it will break, and then you'll see me walk to Tim to tell him what he's got to do, and us go like, it's like, here's what you got. We go away. Here's what you got. We go away.
It's funny you say that, man, because I'm as receivers between Jeff Cohen and Rob Frazier and I, because you remember, and it was between you, myself, Cohen, and the three receivers, and then I think it was you, Tim, and was it a Tharp that was well too? Yeah, they came in. Steve Tharp, because basically what happened is we would run the plays in. They'd signal the formation, and we would run the plays in, right? Yep. So we would come off as the X receiver, especially Rob and I, because Rob and I would normally I had some snaps at Z, which was Jeff's primary position, but I was mostly on the X. But you come over, and if you would see, you check with the ref, I'm on the line, we're good. You turn around like, Rob, what do we? And we would just like, what do we got here? And I don't know, just go deep. They're cover two, fade it. That's all we did. And I remember how many plays that our freshman year that we played that we screwed up, that we did well. All we had to do was run them right the next week, and it was like a brand new play. And Tim bailed us out a lot on some of those, man. But yeah, those the complexities of that. But you're right, and it went from 27 cut pass, 64 pass, 31 trap power, to just spitting out those sentences. And you're right, Ralph. What I learned about football from Walton, and then I'll let Bozy, once you get in from a Rad story, because I know you played a little bit of offense, you played a little bit of both at times, is not only calling the play, but why you were calling the play. Once you understood that, I think that's probably something you were talking about, why you picked up the playbook so well. Once you start to understand why, those backside rules just clicked. Why we're calling this on 3rd and 5 when we're coming out of the out of the end zone. Why are we calling this in the red zone? Why are we calling this on 3rd and short? Things of that nature. And it started to slow down for me about week 2. And I knew all the receiver positions, and then that's what actually made me more valuable, because of the 3 starters, I was probably I was the least athletic. I was fast, but I wasn't as athletic as Jeff or Rob. So that's what kept me on the field. But Bozy, going back to the defensive side, and that's where you started your career, man, what about the defensive playbook as well? And obviously, what was it like, getting coached by Radakovich.
Well, getting coached by Radakovich was something else. That's all I could tell you. So I'll come to some stories. We got some stories to tell there.
Yeah.
I had so much fun playing defensive line. They had me at defensive end right away, and it was the most fun I had in my life playing football. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. They had a stunning doing everything in this world. And then when they said, hey, you got to cover the running back coming out of the backfield, I'm like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? I got to cover the running back? Bullshit. No, there was plays we cover the running back. Okay, fine. So we had to do that too. Luckily, this is back when I was 18. I was in shape and I could do that then. But no, I can't do now. But I had more fun than anything playing on that defensive line. We had that those teachers D line, his attitude, and we really engulfed that. And it was the most fun I had in my life playing football that freshman year. I had fun other years. That was by far my most fun because it was just pin your ears back and go get them and have fun. And it's hell bells. And nobody's going to block you. If you get blocked, you're bullshit. Don't get blocked. It was fun. Rad would fucking light us up, dude. It was the funniest shit, too, because you'd like hold yourself back and laughing half the time. I remember there was one time during training camp, I didn't have an interaction with Rad yet. And he's over with like the DBs, and I'm with the defensive line doing my thing on the blocking pads, right? Mm-hmm. And I was going to like hitting the pads go down, and I was boom, boom, boom. And my dumb ass is winding up. Never winded up again after this because Rad comes over, comes running, and goes, hey, you did great. Go do it again. I'm like, thinking to myself in my head, I'm like, all right, man. I'm doing good here. I do it again. Goes, what did this fucking idiot do wrong? I'm like, what did I do wrong? You wind up your fucking toy. I'm like, oh, shit. Never winded up again because he made a fool out of me. It was the funniest shit ever. Rad was, I mean, I don't know so about the guy.
Ralph, I don't know if you remember this from the offensive side because you remember how our locker room was in two different sections, right?
Yeah.
We came down the one time. Remember, Jake, Rob, and Jeff and I, we stayed up after practice. We threw some extra patterns and such. We come back down. Remember, we walked down the hill. We came into the offensive side. Then it opened up, the showers. I take my pads off and hung them up. I had my socks on and shit like that. Still have my pants. Like, I'm gonna go grab this water bottle, fill this up. I turn the corner and I see all the defense sitting in the chalkboard and Radakovich's naked ass drawing defensive plays.
Yeah, soap suds going down his leg.
What's soap stud like? And you kind of did like what they now call the Kramer and Seinfeld. Just, you know what I mean? It's like these. I just never forget this guy because he's like. And then I think I talked to Dante Payne or something. He's just like I had an idea, and before he forgot, he wanted to draw it on the board.
He literally came out. No, that's a true story. He literally came out. We're in our lockers, and him and Walton were in the showers together. Okay, he comes walking out, half wet here, half soap suds here, buck naked. I'm like, we're all like, hey, everyone, get over here now. We're like, okay. Even the coaches like took back. And he starts drawing whatever play on the board. Hey, we got to fix this scheme here. We're all like,
oh boy.
Okay, dude.
He was nuts.
I'm going to put a towel on, dude. He didn't care.
Yeah. He was nuts. So, Ralph, our first game was at Waynesburg. And I remember going down there. I mean, at that time, we're playing who we can play, right, with Waynesburg, man. What are your memories of that first game, man? I mean, the first time you're actually on the field in a play, man, what memories? I forget play-by-play and what people did individually, but what were your memories of that game?
I remember not playing that game. Remember, if you remember correctly, I got turf toe. You know how we used to have the two inter-squad scrimmages?
Yeah.
So I got turf toe on the last play of the last scrimmage.
Okay.
So I didn't get to play. So but I went to the game. I don't even know how I got there, but I went to the game and I was there. And that was like at some point, I just remember Tim making a bid. It was a screen. It was like a 47 dart screen.
Yep.
To the tailback, to the halfback, and Tim took it down the far sideline. And then I remember that damn train.
Yeah.
At Waynesburg.
Yeah. And, we all remember that. Yeah.
If they did something, the stain of the Yellow Jackets, whatever. So
Lord knows what it was.
But I remember the defense playing like hella well, and I remember Tim playing super well, and that being a really good, just a really good time. So I didn't actually get to play until the next week.
Okay.
Addie had to get me squared away, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I totally forgot about that, about your turf toe and everything. But I remember from that year. And we talked about Bosie. My first was, did you go? Were you obviously turf toe? You maybe have been out for a while, if I recall. But I remember my Central Connecticut. State, which was I think our third game that year, because those were the game. That's the game I had my first 3 catches, in my career, and I remember that for 2 reasons. One, because of the 3 catches, and 2, Rob and I used to take each other out of the game because Rob would get tired a lot, and we still get tired as well too. But again, I'm not maybe not tired, but for whatever reason, we would just do one of these, and Connecticut was mounting a comeback. I think we were up 17-14 or 17-15 or something. And they were getting old momentum coming back. And we ended up with like a 3rd and 16 or 3rd and 18, somewhere around that. And Rob's doing one of these. I'm like, okay, no, I'm running in. I'm thinking screen pass to Tim or whatever. And they call, can't remember the call, but I had a 14-yard dig route in there. And I ran, and they were playing a cover 3. And as soon as I turned, man, Jake threw that ball was already in the air. He hit me right in the zone seam, and I caught it. Next thing you know, I look over, and I'm just booking it. And then I got like 29 yards, something like that. We go down. I think 2 or 3 plays later, Tim scored, and we pulled away from the game, and I winning, I think, 24-17 or something. And so that part was memorable for me. But then I remember just Coach Walton lighting into us about Rob and I taking each other out of the game because he thought – he's like, I'm the one, because he called that play probably knowing for Rob, and then there was my stupid ass out there in the field. I mean, I caught the ball and made a first down, so no harm, no foul, but he probably called that play with knowing with Rob with his big 6'4", 6'5" butt in there. But yeah, I remember us getting reamed by Walton for taking each other in and out, and that kind of paid the price a little bit in the following week against Duquesne, I think so. But yeah, that was actually a pretty cool memory. Do you remember your first touchdown?
Mine?
Yeah.
My first touchdown. Holy crap. Well, I think I only scored 1 my freshman year, so geez, I should remember it, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't.
Or I tell you what, how about maybe, or just your first vivid memory of like a play like I've arrived and I'm playing college football?
That was actually my sophomore year.
Okay.
Because I wasn't splitting as much time. Well, one, so and you can attest to this. So our offense was kind of funky. Like the fullback Tim was really the tailback.
The tailback, yeah.
I got something funny to add to that in a minute. The fullback thing. I'll come back to that in a minute. But go on.
Yeah. It was kind of an afterthought, and so eventually I ended up winning that job from Steve and Hepler. I think was the other guy.
Yeah, Hepler.
Right?
Yeah,
Johnny Hepler. Yeah.
It took me a few games, but I remember I ended up finally winning the halfback job. So Tim, I say that to say that Tim and I ended up splitting a lot more time. There was a lot more times where Tim and I were on the field together.
Yeah,
which I think actually helped our offense that second year. But like the one that I remember actually happened opening day sophomore year because it was the last time I wore number 20 as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we called 47 halfback corner or whatever it was. And I caught that was the touchdown. That was my first touchdown my sophomore year.
Okay.
I caught that ball and scored. It was the season opener. It was at home. And I remember Jeff Cone running over. I remember Tim running over. And I remember I had a really good game that game. And it was just like, all right, I finally feel like I'm part of the offense. It's not like it was still Tim's deal, but it was like, all right, I finally found a role. Like I got a role in offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, man. I remember when you guys were in there. I mean, obviously at receiver outside of Rob, and we didn't have that big of a role in the offense because it was check downs, getting the backs involved, obviously with Bussey and Dorsey. At the tight end position, those guys. I mean, Walton was a tight end by trade, so he was running all the passing game for those guys too. But yeah, man, I actually I think I actually remember that play if I'm not mistaken. But Bozy, you're talking about the fullback thing you wanted to add.
So Coach Shirley comes out to me during freshman training camp, and I never told this story. I mean, I'm a few people, but I can believe he said this to me. Tim wasn't there yet. Remember, Tim showed up late.
Late. Yep.
Yes, late. And I think they might have been worried if he was going to be there or not. I don't know how that was playing out. He comes up to me. Now, Coach Walton saw my technique as a blocker and loved it. And that's why I moved to offense sophomore year, which if I can go kick myself in the ass for a lot of decisions I made in college, that's one of those. I would have just in golf time played offense because Coach Walton liked me there, but I was hard-headed. What do you want? I was a stupid kid. So, but he always loved the way I blocked and stuff, and he loved my technique. And when I was a freshman, I was like 220, 6'2", 220. I can move. I was pretty quick and stuff. So Coach Shule comes up and he goes, "Hey, your defense still, but Coach Walton might want to move you to as like a blocking type fullback." I'm like, "What? I never fucking played fullback in high school. I haven't played fullback since like I was a kid." He's like, "Yeah, but I'm like," and then a few days later, Tim shows up, and I go to Coach Shule. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You want me to do that? That guy's insane." Tim was like hitting the B button on Madden the whole time. He was if nobody on this podcast is watching never saw Tim Hall, dude was hell of a running back. It was so fun watching him play. We could all attest to that. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I joked to myself, like, yeah, no. Yeah, I was never going to be that. And they never expect that, but it was be blocking fullback. So it worked out good for the team that didn't happen. So, yeah.
Tim was, I don't know about you guys, but as far as being on the field with someone, hands down, the best athlete I ever shared a field with.
Me too.
Period.
I would
Easily.
And I'm grateful for that sophomore year. As he and I got to get close. I mean, we weren't close at it because John, you remember he got there late. Like he got there really late.
Yeah.
And which is probably why he didn't know the offense, right. Early on. But like he definitely deserved all the recognition and everything he got. But like I was so grateful for that sophomore year that we got to spend more time together and connect on the field and off the field, man. It was different.
Yeah.
And Tim was a good dude, man.
He was.
And we can get into that what happened later, but he was a good dude. And again, the best football player I've ever been around.
I got to be up there after freshman year to take some extra courses during the summertime, and Tim and Rob were roommates with me up in the dorms, up in the suites or whatever. I got to know them really well then. They were awesome.
Yeah.
Great guys. We all had our different crowds. Those guys were great. I loved them to death. And, yeah, what happened to Tim, we'll get to that another time, but it was terrible. I haven't seen or heard from Rob in forever. I hope he's doing great. I'm sure he is.
Dr.
Tim,
Fraser.
Is he a doctor? Wow. What kind of doctor is he?
Not a medical doctor. He's got his doctorate, but he's
doctorate. Yeah. I found him as Boz and I were talking, and we want to start putting some of these Robert Morris episodes together. I looked him up and found him on Facebook. He hasn't accepted the friend request yet, but that's fine. He's probably busy. But I know Rob was obviously he and I were ones that we kind of we gelled together a lot. Jeff was as well too. Jarrell Freeman, if you remember him, like these were guys.
Jarrell Freeman, Dayton kid.
Yeah, Jarrell and Jeff and I, we took a computer class together, and remember the guy just told us to sit in the back. You guys be quiet, and you'll be fine. Like what? Bro, we didn't do a damn thing in that class and got a B. I mean, it was the best thing in the world. I think we played like Rampage. We unplugged the speakers. We played video games back there, and we just because the professor was so excited that there was football players on the thing that he just said, you know what, just go ahead and just play. So we got a special bond. But Rob and I, because we obviously were in the same position, we're learning the plays together. Through him, I got to know Tim Hall very well, and I forget the name of the dorm that had only the first floor were dormitories, and the other two were like nurse's office, administrative offices. It was right in the middle of campus. I forget what it was, but I remember that it was only the first floor, and it was all football players. And I cannot remember who I roomed with, but Rob and Tim Hall were just down the road every night. And Ralph, I don't know if you came over, I don't know, Bozy, because every night in camp our sophomore year, we went and we watched Bootlegs of Friday. That year, we just hung out and we took over that little lobby. And Dante Payne, all these guys, they brought speakers in there, and it was like a house party like every weekend in that little dorm room. We put all the chairs out. I remember Adam Thurman was down there for a couple of those our sophomore year, and I think it was his freshman year. But like that first floor was rocking that whole year. But
I never saw Friday until that freshman year that summer, and Rob and Tim kept quoting me like, "I gotta see this fucking movie." They were ripping on me. They were just quoting Friday shit at me. I just wanted to saw it. I was like, oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
But through that is I just got the bond with Tim and with Rob and his guys. And you're right, Ralph. I mean, as good of an athlete as he was, and I agree, I concur. He was the best athlete I shared a field with as well. And I shared a field with a few very good ones in high school. But and and even because we had some games against Johnstown and others that actually had some great players on them. But yeah, he was even a better human being, and it's definitely very sad what happened to him because it sucks because he's getting ready to sign with Kansas City, which was his hometown team.
Yeah,
and all that happened. So,
but so interesting enough, like not this isn't a Tim story at all. So you mentioned them, Eric. That so you mentioned the tight ends, and it goes, it's a lost truth that Bussy and I went to high school together. So Bussy was actually Greg Bussy.
I know that.
I thought he's from out like in the West somewhere, or he just moved out there later on.
So Greg Bussy is actually a year older, but he left before graduating because he's a year older than me. He left before graduating, and then he went to Fork Union, and so he finished his high school at Fork Union and then did the post that year. So that's where they recruited him from, was Fork Union. I didn't even know he was going there until report day. He shows up, I show up, and we were in the same dorm. And I was like, yo, what the fuck are you doing here? So and interesting story, funny enough. So Bussy was a quarterback.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He got beat out. No, he was a quarterback in high school, got beat out. So he didn't start playing tight end and receiver till his senior year of high school, which was my junior year. Funny enough, I played receiver that year.
Okay.
So he moved from quarterback to receiver to tight end, and I moved to receiver that junior year of high school. So
and you know what? And thanks for clarifying that, because I remember him as quarterback somewhere, and I don't know if it was in high school or he came in as a quarterback then switched. But thanks for clarifying. I remember a quarterback of some sort with Bussy.
Yeah,
we had a few quarterbacks, Nate List and Cleary, that switched around. Remember they were quarterbacks right away.
They were. They were.
And I remember our freshman year in camp, they wanted to get an emergency quarterback. I think after who was that one guy, the big guy? Rob, remember it was a Baxter, Jason Baxter was like kind of a bigger guy.
And, I remember him, yeah,
because I remember he had a cannon for an arm, but it was all wild. Because I remember in camp, Rob and I would go into John Jay Gym, and he's like, I want to throw more balls. So we'd catch, we'd come back, and our hands were just beat red from catching his passes, just down the basketball court. But he never panned out. It might have been a playbook thing as well.
Yeah.
But I remember Bussy. I'm sorry, real quick about the emergency quarterback. I was on the field, and Tiger, Walton's son, was having, because he was obviously a Pitt's backup quarterback.
Yeah.
He was throwing us, and he yelled at me. I always had a pretty good arm, and I threw by far the best deep ball of these emergency quarterbacks. Not better than Jake or better than Andy or better than anybody else, but it was like, and Tiger just ripping me up a storm about my footwork and this and that. And I finally looked at him. This might got a little doghouse. I'm like, Tiger, what the hell? I've never played quarterback since like 9th grade. Of course, my footwork sucks. It's like you just told me to throw the ball. I'm throwing the ball. And it's he and I never really saw eye to eye on it. But again, I respected him. But it was just like he would always look for a way to dig at you.
Tiger's kind of a weird dude. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I don't know. I didn't vibe with him either. But he's kind of weird. I don't know. Yeah.
But reason I want to real quick about a Bussy story. This was during when the JV team would go play like Youngstown or go play ever. Ralph, I don't know if you were there at the practice. Remember this, but if you remember, Bussy wasn't the best blocking tight end. And
is this the bad rad practice?
The bad rad practice, yep.
Oh, please tell this story.
So,
yes.
Let me go, Ralph, if you want to go ahead and tell it, man, because
I
good.
No, so I remember because I was standing with Rob and Jeff because we were standing aside. They were doing like DB drills, and we were like kind of alternating because obviously there wasn't that many players out there, and we just did because it was raining a little bit in that practice. And I remember Rad just ripping his shit about blocking to where Bussy's only in pads and a helmet, and he's down there on all fours and not blocking Bussy. Bussy was a nice guy, super nice guy. Obviously, he's some of the best hands I've ever seen. By the way, I mean Bussy could catch. He catching one-handed balls in the rain and everything. It got to the point where I think they went like 3 reps, until Rad just lit into him, called him every name in the book until he finally blocked the hell out of him and cut Rad's forehead open. And there was this blood everywhere. He goes, "That's how you effing block. If you don't block like that again, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna kick your ass again." And I remember like, what's that?
He ripped his jacket off. He ripped Brad's jacket off.
Oh, his glasses there like, everywhere too.
Yeah, and I'm sitting with Rob, and that's why I hope I told Rob, because Rob and I were like, "Man, I'm gonna start blocking my ass off too." And I don't, because I don't want to do that to Bad Rad. He scared the hell out of us, man. Anything I missed?
Oh, didn't his knee get bloody on that one too?
I don't remember. Is there anything I missed on that, Ralph? I mean, that practice was insane, though, man.
I remember his head bleeding and Bussy ripping his jacket off because Bussy got pissed off. Yeah, I remember that. And I also remember because Rad, even though it was weird because he was the DC, but he spent a hell of a lot of time on the offensive side, like O-line, anything that had to do with fundamentals. Like I remember running backs, he came over, talked about pass blocking, and he talked about wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Wax off. And then I also remember, and I think this was during training camp. You also remember, so two things. Joe always had the tobacco in his mouth on the field, a cigar in his mouth in the office. Rad smoked everywhere.
Yep.
Rad would have cigarettes, be smoking them during practice. And this was when he was with the offense too. And I can't remember what drill we're doing. But Rad is smoking a cigarette, and somebody screws up a drill. He's like, get the hell out of the way. Now, you remember those polos, they had the pockets in them. Rad put his lit cigarette in his pocket, does the drill. He's like, now that's the way you do it. Takes the cigarette out of his pocket and starts smoking. And I just remember we just looking at him like, did y'all just see that shit? Like, did y'all see what this man just did? Like, so I'm Bad Rad. I just remember doing lots of crazy shit. And then you would hear the stories from the defensive guys like that. Rad came up with a whole goddamn new defense, like game day, like 2 hours before the game. Like Rad just put in 3 new blitzes or whatever. But the shit always worked, man.
I will tell you this. It always went with the scheme, though. The defensive line still had their things. It was the linebacker blitzing would always feed off of our schemes on the defensive line, and he just mixed it up all the time. It was terrific. The cigarette story is 100% true, but with us, and I believe he did that, but I remember he always put it out on his fingers, put it back, come back, light it again. I'm like, what are you, really, dude? Really?
I told the cigarette out with his finger.
Oh, dude. I told a story a few weeks ago, Ralph, we're a couple weeks ago talking college football stuff. So we had a defensive huddle after a practice. During a practice, they were filming us or whatever, and we might have fucked up the week before, I don't know. And he was pissed off. It's just big defense huddle calls us up, and he's blowing us all up. You guys are lazy, worthless, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, okay, we're hearing this again. And then Mark Kuda and I in uniform looked very similar. I was 99, he was 97, same build, defense lineman, right? And he always had a thing for hating Kuda. I don't know what it is. It was the funniest shit. Maybe because Kuda's an old war veteran. I don't know what it was. He just didn't like Kuda. I think he really did, but he looks to me, he goes, and you, Kuda, I'm gonna be honest how he said this. You're the latest worthless cocksucker on this fucking team. I'm like, I look at Coach Harper. He's done. I'm like, I'm not Kuda, I'm Boz. He goes, fuck you, you're lazy too. I'm like, okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah.
No, sorry. He's like, screw it, you're lazy too.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I guess I am. Sure. Dude, that was the smartest football mind. I will tell you this. So, Ralph, I think you're probably coaching at a higher level. I coached like younger kids and stuff like that, and then junior high. But what you said is when he taught technique, I think that ingrained in my head as years went on, because that's all I taught. O-line, D-line, technique is so important. I got that from him. And I told Eric this. I remember during our first game freshman year, I had a lot of firsts in that game. Got first injury, first late on the quarterback. And I hit the quarterback late and took away the sack from Pat Stage. And he calls me off the field. And I think he's going to ream me apart, because that's what Ray would do, right? Yeah. He would just, you were kind of like almost intimidating, scared. And during the game, he was pretty calm. He looks at me and goes, you know what you did wrong? I'm like, yeah. He goes, don't fucking do it again. Come back next series. I'm like, okay. And that was it. I was like, okay, so this dude, when he's coaching, he is calm as hell coaching. on the field, practice, he blew your ass up.
Yeah.
It was kind of, the dude had it going as a coach. I give the guy a lot of credit. It was fun playing for that guy. It was a blast.
My last.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Ralph. No, you go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think we would call it fun playing for Joe, but
No.
Joe didn't cuss.
We did not.
But fun. The craziest part, man, and like you said, I've been coaching since I left school. I mean, it's pretty much all I've ever done. But it's crazy the things that stick with you in the sayings. And Eric, you know this. I say to this day, Judas Priest. Like I say it all the time. Like when kids, the guys screw up or they can't get a console, or they continue, or they repeatedly making the same mistakes. I mean, I'm like Judas Priest, and guys be like, "Would you just like?" Now I cuss like a sailor, but like it just comes out Judas Priest, and guys, would you just cut? And I'm like, I can't stop saying it. Is Judas Priest? So I say that. I would say you're gonna drive me to drink, but I drink. It's known that I drink. So
yeah.
You don't chew on a cigar like him, though, do you? You don't do that.
I don't chew on a cigar. I wouldn't waste a cigar like that.
That's what he did. Yeah,
and he was always on that. Remember the dry pattern? That's when he was chewing like a sailor. You know, talking about how what we're doing wrong, our alignments. But I was gonna say, you know, with Joe Walton as well, he definitely wasn't fun. But he was also somebody that taught the fundamentals very, very well. I'm gonna tell you probably the biggest lesson I learned as a receiver from Walton, and some of this with Coach Richardson as well, was how to work a man when they're in a zone coverage, how to press a man, make him commit away, like getting his hips going, setting up your routes, things like that. Because you think of a zone, you just want to try to run around the guy or do what you need, but he taught you how to. One, your alignment, your splits are different in every play. One to get wide, one not. You know, if I've always said this, if I would have known what I learned in a week and a half of camp at Robert Morris my freshman year in high school, just off that knowledge, would have went major D1. You know what I mean? Just because of the intricacies. I think a lot of us would have known that too. The things that we learned from Radakovich and from Walton, because look, athletic ability is there, and Ralph, you know this from coaching now. Athletic ability is important, of course, but that mental part of that game is what really puts some players over the edge, in a sense, as far as, being able to compete and such. Now, good. I mean, you can know all the ability you want. If you run a 5.0 40, you're not playing. I get that part. But what I'm saying is, like, learning the intricacies of the position from Walton in just overall, like I talked about, now I know why we ran plays like this. I know why these formations happen, why we ran certain motions pre-snap and all this stuff. And just that being embedded in your head is something I'm always going to be grateful for Walton. Like I said, he and I mean, we never really butted heads, but I've always thought I could be utilized more than what he was using me for. But at the same time, we were winning. So at the end of the day, I didn't care, but I thought I could have contributed more from the offensive production. But at the same time, I realized we had you, Ralph, we had Tim, we had Rob and Dorsey, and the guys were producing and we were winning. So I was still having fun, but I do appreciate what Walton taught me from a schematic perspective.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I always say about Joe and the relationship, you got to remember, he was an NFL guy. He was not a relationship guy. He was a transactional. That was his deal. I won't say he didn't care. I think he cared about guys, but he had to keep you at a distance, and that was just his nature. But I would say positively, before I talk about football, positively, when I became a head coach, when I got my opportunity, he was one of the first guys to call me from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Called me from Puerto Rico. If you guys remember, he used to go to Puerto Rico as soon as the season was over. And he called me from Puerto Rico. He still called me Ralphie. He was like, "You're gonna do great," and he's like, "I'll be watching," and and all of those things. So the things that I took away from Joe is that it's just like you said, it was teaching the why. And what I learned in his offense, especially spending 4 years in it, is I didn't just know what I did. I understood what I did and why I did what I did, and I understood how what I did affected someone else.
Yeah.
if I ran a whisk, I knew you were running the deep, the receivers are running the deep curl and we're working a high low on the flat defender. So I understand, hey, if I stop, I understood the difference of reading the coverage in the middle of my route. Hey, if zone coverage, you stop. If it's man, you got to keep running. If I understood, hey, when you're we called it double response, but when you're in that pass pro, you don't stop in pass pro. You gotta, if he's blitzing or if he's dropping, you got to see that as you're running the route. You don't stop. That's how you get out and stuff like that, and things like that. So the things that I took away was not just teaching the concept, explaining and teaching the why. Yeah. And the thing that I think that a lot of coaches don't do, and unfortunately a lot of coaches get away with now, is not teaching the why and not really teaching the game. There's not a lot of teaching going on anymore with football. And I wish everybody could, have the kind of teachers. It's not necessarily the coaches, but the teachers that we had in college, because they taught us football, not just how to play football, but they taught us football. So
I agree. And actually, Buzzy, before you talked about the reading on the run, if you will, my favorite play to this day, and obviously, the prefix of this is variable depending on the pre-snap formation and the motion. But remember the 47 XX fullback streak?
Yep.
Play. I love that because I had that stair step route. And then if it's a zone, as soon as I cross the center, I'm hooking up, finding a zone on the center. If I read zone, if I read man, which is for me was easy because the fullback streak. If I see someone chasing the fullback, I just keep running to the sideline, and then you get hit, basically on a cross. And that was one of my favorite plays. But because of that play, learn to read certain keys and what's a man, what's a zone, and things like that. I love that play as the X receiver. Mainly because we were the primary there too, but unless Tim or you got out on that wheel route, from the fullback position. But that was one of my favorite plays.
Yeah, 43 pass was my favorite, and I loved running it with Tim because I tell you, nobody helped you more than having Tim. So they might supposedly supposed to drop one way, but they're going to drop in the direction that Tim goes. So it didn't matter when we called 43 pass. It didn't matter because I knew I know the ball's coming to me.
Yeah,
I know the ball's coming to me.
You ever go back and watch those old highlight films and just watch Tim? You're just still like, really? That guy really did that stuff? Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask you guys this about another player that I thought was just genetically and skillfully was just on another planet. He was so good. Remember, it was Dorsey, the tight end. Do you remember, especially from the running back position, Ralph? This was my family's favorite play when he would come down to a wham block. My uncle would sit there and literally get up and cheer his blocks as much as they would cheer if I caught a ball. They loved watching this guy just smack somebody. I mean, you see Dorsey and you're like, this guy lives in a gym 6 days a week and he doesn't lift. The guy was just physically gifted, a funny dude, a really good dude, but but physically gifted as a blocker, man. But talk about, did you hit a couple of those off his wham blocks, and talk about him as a player?
I remember like seeing him as a freshman, and I remember being like, he's a tight end. Like that's the first thing I thought was like, holy shit. Like, and he just had long arms. He was pigeon-toed.
He walked like that too. Yeah, like a pigeon walk.
And Drew, he was just big for no reason. He was always cool. Now there's stories about Drew now, but like,
we're not going to talk about those, but there are some stories.
We're not going to talk about that. That's unfortunate, but
I don't.
He was genetically gifted. You would love to have him, like you said, wham, whether it was the crack, because, we were still running the jumbo. So he would be the Z and he'd motion him down and it'd be the crack or the wham block or what have you. Or they motion him inside and we would run 34 drive with the wham on the shade and we'd run right behind him. So that was good stuff, man. And then getting to see him catch the ball and just how fast he was being so big. Drew was, I mean, I guarantee he was probably 260, 265.
Yeah, he was. I remember he was drawing some comparisons with the old Steelers tight end Eric Green, because Eric Green was ahead of his time, kind of a big athletic tight end. And I remember in practices, he instead of eyes in the hands, for him it was eyes in the paws, because it looked like he was playing with one of those little Pizza Hut balls because his hands were so big. But yeah, Drew was just an animal back then, man. I mean, he was another guy that I grew a little close to as well. Him and I became pretty good friends, but. And then obviously after I was done playing a little bit, we hung out a little bit, but we drew apart. But yeah, he was just a pleasure to watch. And again, in practice, he was always kept it light. But he did work his tail off, but he kept it light.
When he turned it on, man. Yeah.
He was good. And he was a Pitt transfer. That's the one thing I think, how lucky we got with transfers. And obviously we had the Kemper military guys with Tim and Rob and CC and Deotis Powell and those guys. But we, Drew was a transfer from Pitt. Miles Davis was a transfer from Pitt. He was later on. Neal, was Kevin Neal was from South Carolina. So like we had those. Yeah, we had those big time transfers, and how we were able to mesh that and put that together, and not us, the coaches were able to mesh and put that together, and how those guys were able to fall into the locker room and us not miss. They kind of just fell into the fray. And I think that just kind of has a lot to deal with about the culture that we had. And I remember telling somebody a long time ago, like they were like, man, what was that like? How'd you guys win? And I was like, yo, we were very blue collar mentality guys. Like you couldn't. Jake might have been the only pretty boy.
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty boy in the locker room, but like everybody else was blue collar, hard nosed, like get it out the mud type of guys, and you wouldn't fit with us. Like you wouldn't click with us if you weren't a blue collar guy. You wouldn't have fit. But and they did a great job of going to get blue collar, hard working guys that didn't. Dante Payne, like guys that don't want to lose. Like Dante, like I didn't want to lose at anything. Delonte Perkins, these guys.
Yeah.
Dante, I'll tell you what, man. Dante, I never seen a cornerback hit the way that kid hit.
Yeah.
That dude could hit. He laid the wood. I saw him lay some hits out there. I'm like, holy, that's a fucking corner, man. That dude laid it. I really appreciated watching Dante. He's a good dude.
He was a good dude. And listen, he and I went to battle a lot in practice, and that's where I earned his respect just for how we battled. Obviously, he won more over me than I won over him. But you know what? We earned each other's respect, which I loved. I mean, he'd see me in the weight room. He'd come in, he's pushing me because I was a beanpole, and I was trying to get bigger and stronger and everything. And he's over there coming over, man. I'm slapping me on the ass as far as like, good job, get this, be that guy next year, be this. And I just appreciate that so much from him, knowing that he was one of the stars of the team. And he gave us the T-shirt. You talk about the Black Moon stuff. We had how many DBs must get dissed, playing off the Black Moon song. That was our T-shirts under the receivers jerseys as well. But I appreciate all those guys so much. And Ralph, what you're talking about, you hit the nail right on the head. That I have a T-shirt we have on the Burgh Cave here at millions.co, by the way, that football is a brotherhood. And our brotherhood at that locker room at Robert Morris was built very quickly, because I think way back when we started this conversation with that playbook, offense and defensively, how immersive it was. The guys that really bought in, like yourself, I know I did. I think Bosey's what we learned those plays. We became like extensions of coaches on the field, and I think we earned respect of others, and we helped each other out with the plays, and we developed that strong brotherhood with being the blue collar players. And I think we laid the foundation for those transfers. But when they came in, I believe they fit in well, and obviously their talents gave us some success we had on the field. And one of the final things I want to talk about is obviously we spoke about Tim, NFL success. But another one of our brothers that had some NFL success and to this day was Hank Fraley. You know, an old roommate of mine up in the suites.
Me too.
And he caught my attention. Obviously, he played tackle for us, but he caught my attention in John Jay playing basketball with the feet he had. And I've never seen him have so light feet, but it aided him in his obviously his playing career. But Ralph, what do you remember about Hank Fraley?
So Hank caught my eye, and if you remember, Hank was a Prop 48 back in the Prop 48 days.
Mm-hmm.
But before we found out he was a Prop 48, you guys remember how we used to do 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and they would try to say you're separated, but the good guy, the scout team guys never practiced with the good guys, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just remember when we went over the ones, we went over to 9-on-7 and we ran 15 sprint draw.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he said, because I didn't know who he was a freshman. I didn't know who he is. I think we were juniors by that time. And he sets and he punches and throws in whoever the defensive end, because remember, we went ones versus ones. And our defensive end goes flying up the field and I run behind. And I just remember coming back to the huddle. I go, yo, who the fuck is that? The left tackle.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I'll run behind him all day. And then, and then I remember him being just so big, like Hank had a baby face.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You remember Coach used to give us the one night out during camp, like, you guys are off tonight, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And we took him out and he's got this gum and he's chewing and he's baby face. And I was like, you're that guy?
Yeah.
So I just remember him being super talented, and unfortunately, he was a prop that year. But my senior year, or our senior year, anytime Coach called like 19 toss crack, I was like, Hank's pulling. Yes, I was like, because I got 10 yards guaranteed. Because remember, Coach used to say, hey, go throw yourself at the corner, go cut the corner down.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he did.
And Hank was like 315, 320, and could run. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm getting 10 every time. It doesn't matter what they do, whether they could blitz the corner, and it doesn't matter. And I just remember him, super talented guy. And then I remember he got ripped. He jacked when it was time for his senior year. I think he played on the
looked at. Yeah, for the next level, and I think it was a natural progression for him to go to center at the NFL level. But I also remember about Hank is, like you said, the baby face, super nice dude. But man, he could turn on that switch, or he became an animal, like you said, just tossing people, just some anger that he played with. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
I mean, again, another guy that I'm thankful to call a friend, and I'm happy for his success in the NFL. But yeah, I remember him playing, because again, he and I were roommates up in G1 in the suites for a year, and before he moved off campus
to us on the house
in the football house.
Yeah.
But he was a good dude. Like I said, I just love seeing him and Tim and all these guys have success, which just further strengthens what all three of us, among many others, built at that school.
I remember Hank, when he was living in the house with us, we had a night where we had a keg or something. We were partying, of course. Why not? We're at the football house. That's what we did, right? Not the smartest thing, but it was off season. And he's telling me and Dino and Spence and all of his guys, he's going to block Bruce Smith, blah, blah, blah. We're like, all right, man, whatever. God darn it. A couple years later, I see him in the NFL. I'm like, I couldn't be more proud to be wrong. Holy shit, look at this guy. I was astonished. And I watched him play through his whole career, and I always a Bengal fan first, but always the Eagles fan second because of Hank. And I just had so much fun watching him and just being proud to say, that was a roommate and a teammate of mine. Look at him go. I was so happy for him.
I remember watching a game where he went up, like he was playing when he was with the Browns. He went up, like James Harrison was doing something to Cleveland, and he went in. Hank steps in, and he stepped into James Harrison. I'm like, I mean, listen, man. Of all people, man, leave Silverback alone, man. I mean, Hank, you're that dude, man, but don't mess with that guy, man. Like, please don't. I know this guy. James, don't kill him. But
James, don't mess with Honey Buns, man. Don't mess with Honey Buns now. Don't do that.
Oh man,
that's his nickname, Honey Buns.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So, last thing as we wrap up here, guys, I wanted to get your guys' perspective on is what is the one thing that you guys learn? Maybe there's two, if it's like a 1A, 1B, that you've learned, or your biggest takeaway from playing at Robert Morris, not only at Robert Morris, but being part of that very first football team? Like, what is, like, whether it's a proud moment or what is your biggest takeaway from those years? Bozy, were you going first?
Sure. It was a culture shock for me right away, and I learned so many different cultures right away, and it just smacked me in the face. I grew up in a predominantly white area here in Cincinnati, and going to Robert Morris, Ralph kind of alluded to before, everyone came together, all blue collar, which is what I prefer, which a lot of us do. Different cultures, different areas of the country. We all came together as one. And that taught me so much throughout my life, then and later in life. And I didn't realize how much it did teach me until I was out of college, to be honest with you guys. When I was out of college, I realized how much it built me to who I am today. And everyone from different cultures can come together and have the same goal and build that to a goal. Our freshman year, Ralph, you came from the East Coast. Eric, you're from Pittsburgh. I'm from Cincinnati. We had guys from Florida, from Jersey, from Kansas City, Michigan. We all came together. We had the same goal. We built it together. I didn't appreciate it like I should have then. And now that I appreciate it more, I think it taught me so much more in life that it made me a better man today, because it taught me who I am today. And I could be more thankful for my career as a Robert Morris Colonial, Robert Morris College Colonial, not university, just saying. And how proud I am of being a part of that, and the right decision I made to go there right away. And you learn stuff from mistakes and misfortunes and stuff. You build yourself into a stronger person from that. And we had all of us there together to build each other up, to have a single goal to win football games and to make ourselves better. And a guy's down, you pick him up. And you don't learn it then, but you learn it later in life, what happened then. And you look back and it's like, holy shit. And so what I took from that is, as a father, and now as an ex-husband, that's a whole nother story, but as a husband and all that stuff, what it taught me to be that person to my family also.
Yeah.
And I can be more grateful. I came from a great family background. That was an extension of my family background, and it built me to a better person. I can be more thankful. So that's what it taught me.
Well said, Bozy.
Nice. For me, man, it's something that it carried over from football to my personal life to my coaching life. And Coach used to say this, and you both will remember this: finish what you started.
Mm-hmm.
Finish what you started. Because just like anybody, there's times I didn't want to finish it, whether it was at Robert Morris. There's things I didn't want to finish in life or whatever. Bose, I've been an ex-husband before too. I'm not right now, but but it carries over into everything, every part of your life. And the way you do one thing is the way you'll do everything. So, I took away that finish what you started. I love the way we finished at Robert Morris, those 4 years there. I think we, as a university, we really need to get back to that, and I probably wouldn't be who I am without my time there. And the experiences that I have, because everything wasn't peachy all the time. There was ups and downs, and there's times I wanted to transfer, and I, do like you said, like, hey, you didn't feel like you were. There was times where I didn't feel like I was appreciated or treated right or got the short end of the stick. But I do remember finish what you started.
Yep.
And that's something that I was able to do there, that we were able to do there, and there's something that stuck with me. That was really one of our core values. I know Coach didn't talk about core values, but if you really look back at it, finish what you started was one of our core values. So
very well said. Yeah, well said, Ralph. Well said. The finish what you started is a lesson that I've learned, and also when you give a framework of success, you guide people along that framework, but you allow them to fail and learn within that framework. What I mean by that is, Coach ran it like an NFL shop, right? He didn't. One of the biggest shocks I had was we didn't do any conditioning, because if you weren't in shape, you just didn't play, right? I came from a high school where Coach is telling us to put our sneakers on. We're running in the shade. We're like, sweet. That's because there was a concrete hill about that steep in the woods that we're running and getting conditioned in high school. It was almost military-esque type training. But we also realized, and again, I that was kind of like me being the the young, hard-headed, arrogant kid as well. Like, hey, I need to be playing more. I need to be getting the ball more and things like that. But to finish what you started type is like, you know what? But I'm still going to finish this, even though I'm not agreeing with what's going on, but we're still winning as a team. Ralph, you talked about it, hey, I know I'm the backside route on many occasions on these, but I'm doing this for a reason. You do the gritty work for a reason, and it's taught me the teamwork, the accountability, whether it's, now in my team at work, with my daughters, with my family. But I've learned to allow my kids to do things on their own, but within the framework of the rules that we want to have in our household. I'm there for them, and I do believe our coaches were there for us, but they weren't babysitters. They weren't there to pat us on the back all the time because, like you said, Ralph, they kind of kept us at a distance, letting us be who we are. But I knew of all the shenanigans I was pulling, I knew if I ever had a problem, I could walk in Walton's office and he'd listen to me. You know what I mean? And then that's how with my girls the same way. I get the whole father-daughter thing. Sometimes you go to your mother for things and not to your father. But they know they can come to me, and they know I let them do their own thing, and they're gonna fail or succeed on their own, but I'm always gonna be there for them. And I kind of felt that brotherhood with the players, with the coaches, and then just the appreciation of learning the game, still being able to talk about the game long after I've put a helmet on, or I've never put a coaching mic on or coaching hat, which is a regret that I have. But, learning the game and the relationships that I had at Robert Morris will never be forgotten, man. And that's why I'm so appreciative that you guys are here on this pod with us, man. I hope you guys, we can get you guys back on at a later time. And, if you guys are ever in the Pittsburgh area, man, I'd love to have a beer and bourbon with you. So if you don't want the beer, we'll have bourbons and such too, man. But it's been a pleasure catching up with you guys, man.
It's been great.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you, dude. Hey, Bozy, nice, good seeing you, man. I'm glad you guys are doing well, man. I would love to say we got to get back to campus and get to a game. Maybe when I retire. I can get back and get to a game.
I know. Wrapping up here, where are you coaching at? Tell us about that real quick.
Right now, I told Dudek earlier. I just started 2 weeks ago at UMass Dartmouth. So I'm out in Massachusetts, out near the Cape. Plenty of lobsters.
Okay.
Out here and everything, but I'm here. My family's still back in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So we got a couple years left till retirement. So the countdown begins.
That's awesome. I coached at younger levels. I never made it to the level you're at. So I love seeing that from you. That's awesome for you. I'm so happy for you. That's great. Now, wait, where in Virginia are you from?
I'm not from Virginia, so I am truly. If you're not from the area, you don't understand DMV is DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I literally lived in all three. I just ended up in Virginia for high school. I was born in DC, grew up in PG, Maryland, in Capitol Heights, Pleasant. Yeah, and then I moved to Reston, Virginia for high school, and so I'm from that area. But I went to high school with Grant, me and Busty. We went to high school with Grant Hill.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. People know wrestling for that.
Yeah.
And Alan Webb. Alan Webb is the other guy that everybody knows. The Michigan runner.
Yeah, I'm a Buckeye fan. Fuck them. Anyway, that being said, so my daughter went to West Virginia, and her boyfriend live in Leesburg, Virginia now. So I go to Leesburg a lot. So funny quick story before we wrap up. My daughter one time, she's like, Dad, I'm like I don't know everyone where I'm at having. She goes, Dad, there goes and this guy over here. I'm like, what? She goes, she was Conte Bolton's teacher, or Conte Bolton's daughter's teacher. So Conte comes up to my daughter and she's like, wait a second, is your last name Bozy? My daughter's like, yeah. She goes, are you from Cincinnati? She's like, yeah. She goes, John? She's like, yeah, it's my dad. She goes, shit, I played college ball with him. That's Conte's daughter. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Nice. She lives in Leesburg. I love that area. It's a great area. I got to get to Annapolis. That looks beautiful in Annapolis. I haven't been there yet, but I've been to Baltimore and D.C. and Leesburg and all. It's a great area. Yeah.
Annapolis. Nice. On the water. Good stuff.
She showed me some pictures past couple weekends. She's been out there. Man, that's I got to make it there. That's nice. Yeah.
Nice to visit. I'll never move back.
No. I'm happy in Cincy. If I move, I'll probably go down to Florida. I like the hot weather, but so.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I like this side of the city of Pittsburgh versus where I'm from the other side of the city. I definitely again like to visit. I'm not going back, but hey, listen, Ralph, I in Bozy as well. I know we're doing a sometime later. I might throw another invitation out to you, Ralph, because of your coaching as well. I know we're doing a lot of, because it's a slow time of year in football, right? Until camp starts, a lot of shenanigans starting again with your schedule, upcoming schedule, as well as camps are around the corner and such. But I'd love to pick your brain on what's different with the game from when we played, even from high school and up until now. Like whether it's X's and O's. We talked about before we were on the air, and Bozy, we spoke about this. Like I look back in that playbook. There's a lot of familiar formations. They're just different players that are in different formations. They're called different things. It's that whole car versus vehicle rule. But I would love to pick your brain. I could have other guys I want to bring on that are coaches as well, and guys that just know the game. What's different from yesteryear when we played versus today? From the X's and O's, even down to the players and the kids. There's good, obviously, we're not looking to bash anybody. It's just like, what's just the differences? There's a difference in today's game from when we played. I think you'd be really good to part of that conversation if the schedule permits. So I'll let you know when that is, and I'd love to extend that invitation to you. So
awesome. Just let me know.
Absolutely. So, Ralph, is there anything you wanted to plug before you get out of here? How can I find you on the social media? Is there anything else you want to plug?
I don't do a ton of social media. You say you found me on social media. If you notice that I don't post a lot, if I post about my family, man. I'm all about I'm all about the wife and kids and bourbon, cigars, and golf, brother. So and football.
What's your handicap?
I'm like a 20. I'm a high handicap, but it's all good. Hey, I can do all the things I love to do together by myself. There you go. So
somebody asked me yesterday, because I have golf clubs too. They came to my house and knew neighbors like, oh, well, so what's your handicap? I was like, yeah, I'm handicapped on golf. I just put it that way.
Barely walk. That's my handicap.
There's just I drive the golf cart with the beer. That's all I do. But I'm not an embarrassment, but I'm nowhere in. But I'm not good. So
no, dude, he tried to give me the same thing. Ralph. He's like, "We're gonna plug." I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just on Facebook. I don't really have anything else. I put stuff out about like sports and my family. I never do anything else, and that's about it. My kids, and that's my life. Yeah.
All right. No. Well, hey, listen.
Check me out on Twitter at Coach Ralph Clark, capital C, capital R, capital C. Check out UMass Dartmouth football at UMass D football, and check us out. Come see a game. If you're up in New England, we'll go get some lobster.
Lobster, absolutely.
I'm up. Let's go.
Yeah, so hang on after this too. So, guys, I appreciate everybody hanging out with us, watching. If you watch live, or if you're going to watch the rerun, I appreciate. So, shout out to Robert Morris Football. We're going to be able to catch a few games this year, and Bozy and I will be back next Monday night with our second installment of the State of the NFL. We're going to do the NFC like we did the AFC and the Steelers last time with Bozy and my boy GB. With the NFC next Monday at 8:30. So, hope you guys tune in for that. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to the Burgh Cave, do it now. Subscribe, like, and comment. Help the algorithm so this channel grows. And we appreciate everybody. And we'll see you guys on the next one.